Welcome back to the Education System Reboot channel. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about bell schedules or schedules in general. And so what I want to preface this by saying there was an experience. We were doing our state testing in our district, and the state testing required a different schedule. And so what we did is we went to what we call our late start Monday schedule. I should also preface by saying, there's no perfect schedule. And the whole point of this video is to kind of tie in together about 3 or 4 concepts that I've spoken about in the past and kind of synthesize them into an application, something that might be considered. So I guess I could say it this way. If somehow I was ever in charge of a district, I would strongly consider something like this. Okay, so some background, some front loading of ideas here. So number one, I've talked a lot about, using your time wisely, quality of application. One of the things that students that I've noticed, and hopefully, a lot of teachers can relate to this, students seem to have no idea how to use their time wisely. They don't know how to keep themselves busy, etc. And so even if we say that we're going to have block scheduling or 50-minute periods or 45-minute periods or 80-minute periods or trimester, whatever, what fundamentally, at least in my experience, is no matter what, time is wasted. So for me, the most important thing educationally, I think, is training students to use their time wisely. So the question becomes, what kind of schedule do we implement that will allow or model for kids how to do that? So, all right, so that's kind of my preface. Now, what the state testing. So last week we had state testing in our district, and so what we did, I'm actually going to share my screen here so that I can use this as a reference here. And so basically you should be looking at, did it work? I hope that's working because I don't see it. Anyway, you should be looking at a bell schedule. You know what, I'm gonna do this one more time. Something weird happened on my end. Okay, screen one, check, share. Let's see. Well, I hope it's working. So anyway, we've got a bell schedule here Monday. So we have a 2-hour delay every Monday, which we do our in-service and staff meetings. And so we have basically 35-minute periods. Now, many people say, well, that's not enough time. And I would argue with you, no, it's not, unless you're using your time wisely. Because I've always believed that I could get more done in 25, 30 minutes of focused rehearsal than I can in an hour of unfocused rehearsal. So again, so what we did is we, had all week we did the Monday schedule. So kids would test from 8 to 9:45, they get a little break, and then we'd have our Monday schedule all through the week. Now, for me, what I noticed, number one, is I was in charge of the kids that were opting out. So I tried to literally bring things to keep them busy, try to keep them on a schedule. And we'll be honest, some kids didn't do squat, but a lot of kids still kind of did what they were expected to. They working on some homework. I had books, I had games, I had things that I thought were educationally sound. I brought them in. And just for example, I saw a lot of kids playing chess. And again, for me, what's ironic about all this is, to me, chess is one of the greatest educational games out there. It's strategy, it's long-term thinking, it's short-term thinking, it's consequences, it's actions, it's this idea of strategizing how to win at something. And it dawned on me a little bit that many students are not really able to, they haven't had the experience maybe that we used to have before the digital age. And so again, all right, let me tie this in. So we've got this difference here of a normal bell schedule that we use 50-minute periods versus a 35-minute period. So what my brain started thinking about is, okay, so what if we set up a schedule similar to this late start, but maybe an hour delay or something, but everyone came at 8, and that first hour was all about everyone across the school did a personal growth, organizational, get yourself ready for the day time, right? So now to tie back, I'm going to unshare my screen so I can kind of look bigger here. So tying this back into the general concept of my own personal growth is our morning routines matter. And over the last 4 or 5 years, I have increased my ability or improved my morning routine, and it's become something that I do every day. I've worked on my nighttime routine more, so I'm bookending my days, etc. So I wonder if creating a schedule where every student in a district started the day with a morning routine, right? They got to school, they got their stuff organized. Maybe, again, these are examples. There's, you can do it however you want, but maybe the entire school watches a personal growth audio first, and then we have a series of books that students read for 20 minutes, and personal growth in nature, not anything else, just things to kind of get themselves in the right mindset to get ready for the day. And then maybe we have a calendar organizational to-do list, right? You create a to-do list for the day. And so what happens is students are preparing the day for the rest of their classes. We have 7 periods. I don't know, again, maybe 6 periods, whatever. But they're preparing themselves to get focused so that they can use more of their time wisely. And again, for me, from my observation, that is the fundamental issue with most students these days. As soon as they get done with the thing, whatever that assignment is, they're done, and they're on the phone, they're doing something else, and it's not productive. It's not something that their future self would thank them for. And so again, it got me thinking this week as I watched students, especially some of the students that opted out. A lot of them are students that are struggling in a lot of their subjects, and I was thinking, man. But some of them played chess, some of them played Battleship, some of them read a little bit, some of them did things. Now, some of them I still had to pull teeth and didn't do much, but I kept thinking, it's like it was such a short frame of reference, or a short I can't remember, data set. I can't think of the right word here, but I can so imagine if kids came to school every day and the first thing they did every day was say, okay, I'm going to focus my day. I'm going to get ready. I'm going to plan. I'm going to be kind of mentally, physically prepared for the day. And I see other things, like you could have different clubs. You could have like chess club. You got all these things. But the idea would be that first hour or even hour and a half, I don't know, could just be all about preparing personal growth, learning how kids can, just giving them skills to be prepared for the real world. Now this is where it gets kind of weird, or not weird, where I think a lot of people would have a problem, because then you're like, but now you're reducing your class time in each individual class. And that's where I think a lot of teachers would be like, I can't do that. But then think about this. This is how I look at it. If you set kids up for the right routines, and then those routines start to take root in themselves, and then each individual student is able to handle themselves more focused and more self-discipline, and follow through and listen and not be distracted and feel like they have a purpose and understand, like, I believe that would feed on itself. It would allow for more and more students to walk into a classroom prepared, and they would use their time wisely. And then the result long term would be better test scores, better prepared students, better students of life in general, lifelong learners. Another thing that kind of ties to this is this idea of a culture where when you finish something, you have something else to do, right? So the time is what you focus on, using your time wisely. That should be kind of a motto. But anyway, to kind of wrap up, I just want to say this little seed planted last week as I was going through this process with state testing, and I guess I just wanted to put this out here. If somebody else sees it or whatnot, just again, planting a seed, a thought that I wonder if this could be a model for a school to adopt. I certainly know as a musician, our time is valuable. Like if we have a rehearsal, I want that 2 hour, like I want my time, I'm there for 2 hours if I'm getting paid, or 2.5 or whatever it is. And I want that time used well, efficiently. It should be productive. And so maybe musicians understand the value of time more than others. I don't know. But all that being said, it's just kind of a wild thought about schedules, because again, I would argue there's no perfect schedule. There's just good use of time and bad use of time. And so I don't think it matters the schedule we have, as long as it's consistent, as long as there's a purpose, as long as you're being intentional about your goals, and yeah, you're being proactive, I guess. And I really think you have to think with the end in mind. And I think sometimes we as teachers forget that the end is their life, not just graduation or test scores or whatever. It's just being a functional member of society, someone who can critically think, someone who can not be swayed, like can form their own opinions and their values, and understand how to be respectful, but also live in their truth. I mean, we're getting into kind of some philosophical things here, but I cannot help but wonder if some of our schedules really don't matter. It's more just how we structure the goals, the vision, the values that the school, the district, the state have. Um, and again, I just know that as I've gotten better at living in a calendar and using my time wisely, I've just noticed that my life seems to be much more stress-free. I think we could all agree that many students are more stressed out than they've ever been. And I would argue that's because they don't know how to organize their life. They don't know how to do anything with their time. They just waste time, waste time. And then it's like pulling teeth. So anyway, for what it's worth, this was just the thought I was having today. As always, consistent effort over time equals success. And until the next time.